Welcome to podcast episode 397 of Get Paid for Your Pad. We're almost at 400. And now that we're doing 2 episodes per week, we're going to get there very, very quickly. And 500 is in sight, which is obviously a big number. So today I am super excited to have as a special guest, Miss Julie George. If you've been listening to the podcast, you are probably familiar with this rock star short-term rental legend from Australia. She has a really cool accent, and she's a super fun person to have on the podcast. So I'm excited. Julie George, welcome to the show.
G'day from Australia. I'm in sunny Airlie Beach near the Whitsundays of Australia. And if anybody has seen Finding Nemo or anything to do with the Great Barrier Reef, I'm looking out my window at that view right now. So great to chat to you. I know you're in Amsterdam at the moment, or Barcelona. You're over in Europe. And how cool to connect with you again, Jasper, on this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very jealous that you're right in front of the Great Barrier Reef. That's one of my bucket list items, is to go scuba diving there. I was in Cairns once upon a time, 2013, and I was planning on going to the Great Barrier Reef, but unfortunately the weather didn't allow for it. So that's still on my bucket list.
We'll welcome you back with open arms as soon as we open our borders. We're locked down tight at the moment, so unfortunately I can't get out, but we're not letting anybody in yet either. So put that one on your list, but maybe maybe next year.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to dive into it. Today, the topic of our podcast is really, we want to walk everybody through what we learned from being the coaches on the Legends X accelerator program. So just a quick background. We launched this program a couple months ago, end of April. And the program is really designed to help the hectic host. Right, we did a podcast with Eric last week explaining exactly what a hectic host is, but essentially it is a host who's really good at hospitality, really good at doing Airbnb, getting bookings and getting great reviews, loves hospitality, but is struggling to grow their business because they're working too much in it. And what we do through Legends X, we provide systems and we provide the training to get them out of their own business, to create systems. And we actually give them a lot of systems that we have built. They implement those systems, and then they use that to hire team members to start delegating the low level tasks so that they can really focus on the higher level tasks that a CEO or business owner should be focused on: bringing on new properties, figuring out the marketing strategy, managing team members, stuff like that. So that's what the Legends X is all about. And Julie was actually our head coach on this program. We had 52 companies go through the program. It was an absolute blast. And we want to reflect a little bit today on what we've learned, because I know you and I, Julie, we were the coaches, but I think we probably learned almost just as much as the students, right? Because there's just so much to learn from each other. But before we dive into that, give us a quick background for the people that are not familiar with you.
Yeah, sure. So I guess my claim to fame in the short-term rental industry is that I'm one of the very few people that have gone full circle. So I have started with my one property, like you've heard a lot of other people have done. 2016, discovered Airbnb, discovered the amazing potential and income earning opportunities of Airbnb, created a property management business back in 2016, where I was going to leverage other people's properties. So fully furnished properties, I got to take over the keys, take over the day-to-day running of these short-term rentals, and charged a commission. And within 2.5 years, I was able to put together take management of 130 properties and generated well over $8 million of income, which blew my mind, much more than I'd ever thought I would be able to achieve. And I guess, since then I was able to sell my business 6 months prior to COVID, wrote a best-selling book, $1 million, do all the fun stuff, like teaching other people how to, all the secrets and the tips and the secrets of scaling up and getting from that hectic host to a hospitality brand just as we've seen 52 students do just with us in this first program. And I bloody love it, Jasper. I'm in Airlie Beach. I can, as long as there's Wi-Fi, I'm right to teach people all around the world. From you, my friend, I want to be the female Jasper Rivers who gets to travel the world and really make a lifestyle of this digital nomad experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I totally relate to what you're saying with being the digital nomad. I was one for 8 years, and I'm kind of still am. I did have a little pause when I was living in Barcelona, where I rented a place for a couple of years during COVID. But yeah, it's awesome being a digital nomad, and a lot of people are becoming digital nomads, right? It's a trend that's been going on for a while. We can do a whole podcast on that, but yeah, let's. And just I was going to say, what I think is really what you really excelled at, because you scaled your company from 1 to 120 properties in 2.5 years.
130. Right? Got to get the numbers right. 130.
130. Excuse me. So what I find really interesting about what you did was you scaled up so quick, right? And what we see are hectic hosts, they get stuck around like 5, 10, 15 properties, because that's when it becomes too much work to be doing by yourself, right? So then like suddenly you don't have a life anymore. You're constantly on the phone, even at night. There's every day there's some issues with the cleaners or the maintenance, and you're just running around like a headless chicken. And that's something that you were able to avoid. So tell us quickly about how you were able to not get in that hectic host position.
Yeah, look, right from the start, I knew I had to recognize my strengths and my weaknesses. And my weakness was that I was a terrible cleaner. That I couldn't work 24/7. And it was very much a reality check to say, all right, well, I'm becoming this instant hotel manager, but I can replace my job, my income with maybe 5 or 6 properties. But if I want to excel and get to that next level, I need to build a team around me. I need to put systems in place. I need structure and framework. And so right from the beginning, I recognize that really quickly. And that's something that a lot of hosts just haven't maybe had their foresight to do, or haven't got the skill set to do. And that's where, we've come in with Legends X to be able to say, guys, this is what you do, A, B, C, D, and put all the steps in place so that they can take a break from the business. They can delegate and feel like they can trust somebody else to take on that task. They can do a task once, write it down, create a system, and then have it replicate over and over and over. So it was that was probably my secret sauce, was to be able to get that framework in very quickly, get a team in place that I trusted, and really delegate and empower my team to take on more and more work. And so I could step back and I could work on my business, not in it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's kind of become your slogan over the years, I think, right? Working on the business, not working in the business. And the other thing that I learned from you was KISS, keep it simple. Keep it simple,
stupid.
That's right. Yeah, that's another.
This business is so complicated itself. You do not need to overcomplicate it. And sometimes, a lot of people are surprised that my whole business was run 100% on Airbnb. Well, it works. It worked, and I didn't need to go anywhere else. A lot of people at maybe how streamlined my business was with the very minimal software that I was using. It works, so really, you don't have to make this business hard. You don't have to complicate it. You can just really keep the whole structure simple.
Yeah, I think those are the two major takeaways from looking at your experience. Is like, number one, just keep your business really simple. And then number two, take yourself out of the day-to-day as soon as you can, right? As soon as you have one listing, start thinking, okay, how am I going to create a system so I can offload the tasks to other people, right? And I think those two things have really enabled you to, to scale to 130 properties in 2.5 years, which sounds completely crazy, but it's doable. You proved it. So
it does.
Awesome. So
if I can do it, if I can do it, others can do it.
That's right. All right. So let's talk about Legends X. So you and I just went through Legends X as coaches. It was a 3-month program. And what was really cool about the program is that we put everybody in little pods, right? They were communicating in Slack in their pods, but also every single week, you and I would do a accountability call with our pods. And that was really to keep them accountable, right? Because one thing we learned is, giving people information doesn't guarantee results, right? We all need a little bit of accountability. We need a little bit of support, and just doing these calls every single week to check in with the students and help them with their homework and make sure that they submitted their homework on time. It was very, very effective. It was really incredible to see how much the students got done and what the results were like throughout the program, like how many new units were onboarded. We had a few students actually join our SDR Legends mastermind. So they literally went from a hectic host to $1 million manager, a short-term rental legend through the program, which is incredible. But tell us a little bit about what was that experience like of running those pods?
Oh, look, just having those. So what we were doing with the Zoom calls, we would have 6 to 8 short-term rental operators from around the world. So on one Zoom call, I have to get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. my time to do these calls, which I'm not a morning person, but in this case, I was happy to get up and talk to people from right around the world. So we had people in Israel, we had people in Amsterdam, we had people in Mexico, we had people in the United States, all coming together with the same pain points and the same challenges. And I really love the fact that we were making sure that they were being accountable and doing their homework and really putting the work in to see the results from this program. One of my favorite parts was that we were forming little communities as well. And there was such a support mechanism for each other. This business is such a lonely business. Even though we're surrounded by people in this business, you feel like you're on a deserted island. You feel like you're the only one in the world that's having issues with cleaners, having issues with Airbnb claims. And when you can meet once a week with a group of 7 or 8 other people in our pods, as we call them, on a Zoom call for an hour, it was just fantastic. And every week we just gelled. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs, but we certainly shared a lot of extra information, even what wasn't in the program. There were people sharing documents with each other, or sharing tips with each other, or giving each other leads. And quite a few people got to meet up, and Jasper, you got to meet up with quite a few people in person. So we had a lot of people actually going out of their way to catch up in person as well. So just that community, those relationships formed, it was just fantastic. And I miss it.
Well, in a few weeks, you will be part of our next round 2 of Legends X, and we'll announce that to the public pretty soon. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, damn, I wanna be on this program, then actually what you can do is this Thursday we have our new event coming up, right? From hectic host to millionaire manager. So if you haven't registered for that, then go to strlegends.com/register. You can get a free ticket. It's going to be a super powerful event hosted by Mr. Eric Muller. Julie and I will be involved as well. And we're going to teach you how to make that transition from a hectic host to doing $1 million on Airbnb as a short-term rental legend. So we're going to teach you everything that we've learned throughout the Legends X program. So strlegends.com/register. So Julie, obviously it was super, super fun to connect with all these short-term rental companies. But what I really took away from the program is how much I learned from the students, actually. Right. And I'm sure you've learned a ton of things as well. So can you share some learning lessons that you took away from the program?
Gosh, there's so many. And I think you're right. We learned as much as this program, and I think that's the one thing that you've got to recognize is you've always got to just keep evolving in this industry and keep learning. There's so many new softwares coming in. There's a lot of new devices that you can put into your properties, just like, noise aware or the minute devices, or there's a bunch of new things that are out in the industry now that I didn't even know about. So that's probably my biggest takeaway, was learning about how to automate the business and how to actually pricing optimization. I kicked myself that I did not use a pricing optimization tool. And now I know how much money I left on the table by not doing so. And that's probably my biggest learning. Yeah. What about you? What was your biggest learning, Jasper? What would you say yours was?
Yeah, like you said, there was just so many. But I think for me, what I really learned is the power of really focusing on a very specific avatar. Like we had some of our students who had their avatar so dialed in, who were so clear on the type of guest that they're looking for. For example, the remote worker, right? The digital nomad like yourself. Right, we had students talking about stand-up desks. How do you create a perfect working environment for your guests? Right, adding a stand-up desk, adding a place where you can work out, adding having a laptop-friendly workspace, having a really good coffee machine, because people that have been working all day, they want to drink coffee, right? So if you provide, like, if you invest in a high-end coffee machine, I think that's totally worth it, because that's what those people are looking for, right? So I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me, is just looking at 52 different companies and looking at the different guests that they target through their marketing, through their Airbnb listings, and just the power of really focusing on one specific avatar and really optimizing the experience for that person. Right, I'd say that's the biggest takeaway for me.
Getting clear on who we're serving. And in fact, there were two of my students that were really focused in on that digital nomad, that traveler. And they put in things like, they put in monitors, computer monitors, ring lights, printers, and they put them in these properties in Houston. Now, just recently, on a couple of days ago, I touched base with them to see what the results were. And absolutely phenomenal. They've had such increased bookings, increased income on these properties. So it really works. And, we're in such a turbulent time with COVID and traveling, and it's really changed the dynamics and the target audience. And I just think if we can make sure that we are being flexible and we are serving these people that, as you said, the avatars, identifying those avatars, servicing them, it pays off in droves.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the results. As you mentioned, the feedback that we received from students was absolutely fantastic. What is one result that you saw in your groups that you're really proud of?
Oh, look, this is going to sound a little bit strange. It wasn't the amount of money that these guys ended up making, or the amount of properties they were adding to their portfolios. The one thing I was really proud of were people saying to me, I've just taken a few days off from my business. I've gone away on a 5-day trip to Mexico. I have not done that in years. And the fact that we have been able to help them put a structure in place, a team in place, they might have hired some VAs, but they've felt comfortable to hand the phone to somebody else and go away and have a break with their family, for their mental health, their family relationships. And they've just been I can actually tell. It was funny, probably about halfway through our program, I could see the stress levels absolutely, just rise, be relieved. And I love that. That was probably the thing I was most proud of, to see people actually regaining time and having a life again, because they were just, when we started the program, they were working 24/7 and they were not getting a break. They had the phone pretty much surgically attached to their ear, and by the end of the program, some of them were twiddling their thumbs, not sure what to do. So cool. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you're saying, because in the end of the day, making more money is great, but in the end of the day, what really matters is like what can we do with our free time? How much free time do we have? And I can totally relate what you're saying, because even though I started with one little unit in Amsterdam, I was traveling at the time, and we didn't that time, like there was no Wi-Fi everywhere, right? We didn't have like 4G and 5G and stuff like that. So I remember that moment too, where I was in Fiji for 2 weeks and I didn't have internet. And that was a test for me to see if my systems and my virtual assistant and my cleaning lady, if that whole system that I created, if that would work. So I spent 2 weeks with no internet. And once I go back to the mainland, because I was on a very small little remote island in Fiji, once I go back to the mainland and I connected to the internet and I checked out, the first thing I did was I looked at my Airbnb listing and looked at messages and
See
all
if
of
it was
that.
still there.
And I was like, wow, nothing went wrong. Like for 2 weeks, my Airbnb ran without me even looking at the app, which was an awesome feeling. So I can totally relate to that. And like this, one of our students, Sean, who's been on the podcast, and he was talking about how, he wanted to spend quality time with his 3-year-old. And every time he would be playing a game with him or something, his phone would beep and he would have to say to his son, like, hey, sorry, I got to take care of some business. And, just being able to not having to do that is, I think that's priceless. So I think you're right. That's more important than how much money we're making, because that's priceless, right?
It is. You've just brought up Sean. I've got to say that probably one of the funnest parts of this whole program was seeing Sean would have his 3-year-old in the car every time we did the program, like the accountability calls. He would drive around to a different car park until the little boy was asleep and then participate in the accountability program. But that guy did not miss submitting any of his work. He was there every call. He was so dedicated. And I laughed with him because his 3-year-old is probably asleep, but subliminally learning all of this as well. So he's probably going to become a short-term rental expert, this kid, but with an Australian accent. But it was just a lot of fun from different car parks around the estates. Yeah, Sean McGregor was participating and I just loved it.
Yeah, that was awesome. One thing that comes to mind as well is one of the people in my pod sent me a message in Slack saying that he made his son watch some of the modules in the course, because he was saying like these are just like life lessons, right? Understanding the difference between a $10 task and a $100 per hour task and a $1,000 per hour task. And just like really understanding that how as a business owner, you need to remove yourself from those lower level tasks, because there's an opportunity to make much more money focusing on something high level that you can only do as a business owner, that you can't hire somebody for, right? So working on the strategy, working your brand, having meetings with investors, like those hours are so much more valuable and drive so much more revenue into your company, that every time you spend time on something that you could hire somebody for like 10, 20, $30 an hour, that's literally like lost opportunity, right? To do something that drives more value. And it was just really cool to see. When I got that message, I was like, wow, this is pretty awesome, because now we're not only impacting our students, but even the children of our students, right? Which is really incredible.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It was so rewarding, wasn't it, Jasper? Like, I feel like even though we were coaching this program, it was just, my gosh, it blew my mind, just the results, but also just the way that it was accepted and people really engaged. It was just probably one of my proudest moments too, that we had 52 students start, 52 students loving it, like they just genuinely felt like that it was good value and that they learned a lot from it. And now we've got 52 people out there spreading the word. Hopefully we'll be able to get a whole bunch more students to start for our next round.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the students also sent me a message saying that he was actually thinking of taking the course a second time, which I thought was really cool as well.
Yes.
So, but yeah, you're right.
Awesome.
Nobody dropped out, and I think the system that we designed with the accountability calls, really, we're asking for some commitment, right? This is not a program that you can just kind of do at your own pace. We've really learned, Eric and I have really learned that over the last few years, is that in order to really get results, we need that accountability, right? We need to be able to push people a little bit, right? Because we all need a little push sometimes, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep people on track and keep them accountable. And kudos to everybody that really they're all willing to do so. But now we see the results, and it's rewarding to see those results come through, and people have more time on their hand, more properties. I had one of the guys in my pod was able to resign from his day job, and that's so cool. Like, that is just, we're actually seeing people's lives transform with this incredible business opportunity.
Yes. Awesome. Sweet. Well, before we wrap this up, any final thoughts for the listeners?
Oh, look, I just think if you're tuning in right now, you're curious about Legends X, make sure that you register for that event. Come along and find out more about it. If you're looking to scale up and put some systems in place, get some framework in place, you want your time back. You want to have a life again. You want to make, build your empire, but you're not really sure how to do it. Let us help you, because we can actually give you some really good ideas, some good information, and give us 90 days of your time. We will make it worthwhile. But let's do it again. Let's go. I want to get stuck into our next round.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm excited too. It's gonna be great. So again, strlegends.com/register. We're doing a free training, so it's open to anybody. If you're hosting on Airbnb, it's really designed for that hectic host, right? That person who is stuck in their business. You're working 24 hours a day almost, and you're not able to onboard more properties because you are working too much in the business yourself, right? That's really the ideal person for this training. But anybody is welcome, right? If you're an Airbnb host, sign up, get that free information. It's going to be super powerful training for any Airbnb host. So go to strlegends.com/register. Eric Miller will be there. Myself and Julie will be there as well. And we have some really cool bonuses in store as well. So the event is Thursday, August 12th at 1 p.m. PST. That's 4 p.m. EST. And that is, I think it's around 10 or 11 p.m. in Europe. And then it's very early morning on Friday for our
6 a.m. Friday in Australia. So, and look, we had a few Aussies, and that's the other thing, is the program is relevant worldwide. It is not just for people in the United States. We had people from right around the world participate in the program and all get great value out of it. So folks, wherever you are, if you're interested in building a business in the short-term rental industry, connect with us.
That's right. strlegends.com/register. Thursday, August 12th, 1 p.m. PST, 4 p.m. EST. Hope to see you there. And of course, we will have another podcast go live this very week. Myself and Eric will be sharing some of our thoughts on different topics. And next week, we'll be back with another standard episode with a guest. So Julie, thank you so much for being on the show. I know you have some fun stuff coming up. You're doing some digital nomading on a small little island. It looked amazing. The pictures that you shared on Facebook in the alumni group, the Legends X alumni group. So yeah, I'm excited for you. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun.
Right. I will indeed. And you have a great time in Europe, and Aussies are beating Netherlands. It's really all we need to finish off this podcast with. So go Aussies.
Go Aussie. It's really incredible to see how a country with a small population like Australia always crushes it on all the Olympics. Not so much the Winter Olympics, though. All right. Thanks, Julie. And
No,
thanks to the listeners.
no, we don't do snow in Australia.
You don't do
Thanks,
snow.
Jasper. Bye for now.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye.